The Ford government steps closer to allowing more surgeries in private clinics. The controversial move was the first order of business when the legislature resumed here at Queen's Park today for the spring session. The government's Your Health Act was officially introduced this afternoon. It includes several items, all of which have been previously announced. If passed, the list of surgeries performed in private clinics would increase, starting with hip, knee, and orthopedic procedures. The legislation would also ensure those surgeries would still be covered by OHIP, regardless of where they're performed. The health minister insists the move is necessary to help chip away at the long backlog caused by the pandemic. But Sylvia Jones also faced questions about how the government plans to stop health workers from leaving the public system.
How are you going to prevent these private clinics from taking staff from hospitals?
The individuals who are applying for these licenses, they have to work with their community and local hospitals to make sure that the services that they are wanting to offer are actually needed.
Sylvia Jones is also facing tough questions about the topic of upselling. Basically, OHIP would cover the cost of the surgery, but patients could potentially feel pressured to pay a little more out of pocket for enhanced or extra services being offered by a private facility. She insists clinics won't be allowed to turn away patients who decline upgraded care. Still, the Liberal health critic isn't buying any of the plans laid out today.
Moving surgeries out of hospitals can make sense if done properly. Specifically, they need to be not-for-profit, linked to and affiliated with hospitals. They must have strong ministry oversight, with identical compensations.
Jones claims protections are embedded in the legislation, including standards that all private clinics must meet. Ontario's patient ombudsman will also play a role in handling any complaints from patients. Now, both the Ontario Medical Association and the Hospital Association have voiced support for the plan in the past. Several unions representing healthcare workers are speaking out against it. Premier Ford touched on the subject today, saying he's not interested in engaging in endless debate about the steps his government plans to take. And meanwhile, Premier Ford had to face some tough questions of his own from the new opposition leader today.
Marit Stiles, member for the electoral district of Davenport, is recognized as the leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Applause for Marit Stiles as she begins her first question period in the legislature as NDP leader. The Ford government has given her much to ask about. Her first question was around the controversial stag-and-doe Doug Ford had for his daughter's wedding, which was attended by lobbyists and developers who paid $150 a ticket.
I want to be clear, this is not about the Premier's family, it is about the Premier's behaviour.
The Premier doesn't deny holding the stag-and-doe.
Regarding any family matters, my family is separate than the political process. They aren't involved.
Ford has been cleared by the Integrity Commissioner, but the NDP say they'll present another complaint to the Commissioner about the matter this week.
Something smells wrong here. It smelled wrong when he carved up the Greenbelt in the fall. Now we have these information about family fundraising events where people were apparently asked to contribute.
The Liberals say they will also put in another request to the Integrity Commissioner about the stag-and-doe.
These same individuals are now profiting and benefiting from access to the Greenbelt, which now is opened up for further development. It really stinks.
On Friday, the Public Order Emergency Commission published their report on the use of the Emergencies Act. Why was the Premier absent when the people of Ottawa needed his help?
Premier Ford was also taken to task over Friday's Emergency Act report, which criticized his government for troubling inaction during the trucker convoy in Ottawa. Ford let his government House leader respond for him.
As I said, if there are lessons to be learned with respect to better coordination of emergency services on the ground in Ottawa and how they communicate, we will take a look at that.
And it turns out Green Party leader Mike Schreiner will not be wooed by Liberals to run for leader of their party. After a disastrous showing in the past two elections, the Grits are still without a leader. Despite a letter by some Liberals asking him to consider the job, today Schreiner said, no thank you.
I'm going to continue doing this work with a great Green team, and we're going to continue to push hard to protect the greenbelt, our farmland and wetlands, and to push this government to actually wake up and start addressing the climate crisis.
So, a very busy day one of the spring session. I'm told the government will be focusing on increasing skilled trades and accessing critical minerals to boost the supply chain for electric vehicles this session. Job creation will also be key.